The gentlewoman is recognized from California for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today is Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, a day when we urge African Americans to get educated, get involved, and get tested. On Monday, the House passed my resolution, H-Con Res 35, recognizing the goals and the ideals of Black AIDS Awareness Day. The global HIV/AIDS pandemic is simply devastating Black America, Africa, and the Caribbean in disproportionate numbers to the rest of the world. With 40 million people infected around the world, over 1 million of which are right here in the United States, this disease is as much a problem in South Africa as it is in my district in Alameda County. In the United States, among young people, among women, and among men, African Americans are at the most risk of getting infected with HIV, of developing AIDS, and of dying of this disease. The unfortunate reality is that to be Black in America is to be at greater risk of HIV and AIDS. The numbers are staggering, but let me just mention a few specifically. According to CDC, in 2005, African American women accounted for 66% of all new HIV/AIDS cases among women. Compared to white women, African American women were 25 times more likely to be infected. Today, AIDS is the number one cause of death among African American women between the ages of 25 and 34. That is, quite frankly, just mind-boggling. Black gay men are also heavily affected by this disease. In 2005, CDC surveyed Black gay men in 5 United States cities and found that 46% were HIV positive. The situation is just as stark in my own district. In Alameda County, over 6,600 cases of AIDS have been diagnosed since 1980, and nearly 4,000 people have died. Of those numbers, African Americans represent well over 40% of the cumulative AIDS cases and AIDS deaths in the county. In 1998, we became the first county in the nation to declare a state of emergency in the African American community. We tapped into emergency funds and started a community-wide task force that included local AIDS service organizations, elected officials, and county health departments. Together, this task force sought to provide a focused and very targeted response to the AIDS epidemic within the African American community in Alameda County. At the same time, here in Congress, with the leadership of my colleague, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who was then chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Congresswoman Donna Christensen, and of course with President Clinton signing this, we created the Minority AIDS Initiative in 1998. I have to thank the gentlelady from California for her leadership in helping us break the silence here on Capitol Hill with regard to the devastating cases and situation of African Americans in America as it relates to HIV and AIDS. And recognizing the inability of our traditional programs to serve the minority communities, the Minority AIDS Initiative was specifically designed to build capacity and to expand HIV and AIDS outreach activities so that we can target programs and services target them directly to those who need them. And it took us 8 years, but I'm happy to say that we finally last year codified the Minority AIDS Initiative by passing the Ryan White Treatment Modernization Act at the end of the Congress last year, which included the Minority AIDS Initiative. But now, of course, what do we have to do? We've got to fully fund it. We need a minimum of $610 million, and that is just a drop in the bucket. We need billions of dollars to address this pandemic. And at the same time, we've got to go further, and we've got to get to the real factors that are ultimately driving this epidemic in the African American community. Poverty and discrimination, the lack of affordable housing, the disproportionate rates of incarceration among Black men, poor access to care, and limited cultural competency for health service providers. All of these deserve our attention and deserve action. We can start to get at one of these factors by ending really what this is a head-in-the-sand approach to HIV prevention that's turning our prisons really turning our prisons into a breeding ground for this disease. We need to provide routine but rigorous opt-out HIV testing that is linked with treatment to all incarcerated persons. Congresswoman Waters, and I'm sure she'll talk about her bill in her presentation, but this is, again, a major step in the right direction. We've got to pass Congresswoman Waters' bill, my bill, H.R. 178, which is called the Justice Act. This would allow condoms in our prisons and demand accountability in stopping the spread of HIV and other sexually transmitted infections among incarcerated persons. We've got to do this. This is a crisis, and we have to do this our part in Congress to make sure that this happens. We must continue to work with advocates and health providers and faith communities to raise awareness, to get tested, and to get active in our communities. We participated last year with the International AIDS Conference in Toronto, and there were wonderful, unbelievable activists at that conference from America, African Americans who came to Toronto to raise the plight of the African American AIDS pandemic to the international level. Many were amazed that here in America we have a pandemic that is just killing many of our communities. And so at that conference, many of our civil rights organizations recommitted themselves to making the stamping out of HIV and AIDS top priority in terms of their overall agenda. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you for the time.
Gentleman, Mr.